Here's your daily news roundup from 97.9 WGBW.
From the 97.9 WGBW newsroom, I'm Connie Fellman with this local news update. Governor Tony Evers says the extensive damage from recent flooding we've seen is more than the state can handle on its own. Evers announced yesterday he will formally ask for federal help. Evers has directed Wisconsin Emergency Management to submit a request to FEMA based on initial damage assessments. It's the first step in getting federal assistance to help communities recover. The governor says the state is likely to qualify for federal aid. Once the request is submitted, FEMA will work with state and local governments to assess the extent of the disaster. After that, Evers would submit a formal request for a major disaster declaration, which must be approved by the president. A local radio personality is off the air and facing child pornography and drug charges. 39-year-old Daniel Lyburn, who went by Dan Brown on air at 95.9 KISS FM, was charged in court yesterday with 1 count of possession of child pornography and 6 drug-related counts. Woodward Community Media, which owns KISS FM, issued a statement saying Lyburn is no longer employed by the company. According to the criminal complaint, police were tipped off to a video of child sexual abuse being shared on Snapchat and traced the account back to Lyburn. Authorities say investigators found prescription painkillers belonging to someone else and marijuana-related paraphernalia during a search of Lyburn's bedroom in his parents' home in Howard, where he lives. A judge set a $50,000 cash bond during Lyburn's initial appearance yesterday. He's scheduled to return to court May 28th. The man charged with attacking 2 people with a machete on Green Bay's east side last week is in the country illegally, according to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. 29-year-old David Morena Garcia is charged with 2 counts of attempted first-degree intentional homicide for the stabbing on April 20th. The attack happened just 20 hours before Garcia was supposed to show up in court on a hit-and-run charge. Brown County Jail online records show Garcia has an ICE hold. According to the DHS, Garcia received a final order of removal in 2022 after failing to show up for immigration hearings. He was arrested again last year for driving without a license. DHS officials say ICE agents used their prosecutorial discretion and chose not to arrest him. Garcia is currently in jail on a $750,000 cash bond. The Green Bay Public Market hits another roadblock in closing the funding gap it needs to move forward. The project is only receiving a small portion of the funding it requested through a state grant program, rather than the $2 million included in a funding plan project leaders laid out in January. A non-state-owned facilities grant awarded the project less than $200,000. This comes on the eve of a deadline set for tomorrow for the group to provide the city with proof of funding. This is the latest setback for the Green Bay Public Market project, which was announced in 2022 and broke ground in the fall of 2024. Representatives from On Broadway say despite nearing the goal for their campaign, a spike in construction costs has delayed progress on the effort to convert the old Fort Square building on Broadway into the Green Bay Public Market. With news at the top and bottom of the hour all day and on demand anytime at WGBW.FM, I'm Connie Fellman, 97.9 WGBW News.
With Civic Media News, I'm Terry Miller. Wisconsin is asking FEMA to step in after April storms caused serious damage across the state. Governor Tony Evers says a federal damage assessment is the next step toward disaster aid, and state officials believe the losses are high enough to qualify. The request comes as Wisconsin is still waiting for help from an earlier round of flooding that the Trump administration declined to cover. Gas prices are at a 4-year high in Wisconsin. The national average yesterday was $4.21, which is 21 cents higher than a week ago. In Wisconsin, the state average is $3.96, but some local counties are paying more. Gas Buddy shows Oconto, Manitowoc, and Fond du Lac counties are all averaging over $4 for a gallon of regular gas. And nearly 1,000 beagles could soon leave Ridgeland Farms in Dane County in a deal with a rescue group. Big Dog Ranch Rescue says it reached an agreement to take in the dogs, who will first get medical exams, microchips, and vaccinations. The rescue says many will then be placed with other groups across the country, while activists continue pushing for all the dogs to be removed. Activists at one point attempted a break-in at the facility, and several were arrested. The company is licensed by state and federal agriculture officials and says its research helps improve veterinary medicine. The 2025 court settlement required it to stop breeding dogs for biomedical research. A court filing says UW-Madison may have to cut as many as 160 jobs if USDA funding does not come through soon. According to the Cap Times, university officials say the loss would affect extension programs and more. Leaders say the university is reviewing new federal rules before accepting more money. More news can be found at civicmedia.us.
The Brewers and D-backs go to battle. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Baseball, Game 3 of the Diamondbacks and Brewers today at American Family Field. The Brewers losing 6-2 last night as starter Brandon Sproat got off to a good start before the wheels came off in the fourth. Pat Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, he ticked down a little bit. You could see he ticked down a little bit, and, they were ready for what they were ready for. They were on it.
Sproat gave up 4 runs on 6 hits in 4 1/3 innings. College football, the Badgers wrapping up spring practice. For the first time since 1978, Wisconsin had no players taken this year in the NFL draft.
Disappointing, but it's also a realization. It is what it is, but I think there is some realization that I want to make sure these guys in this program understand and know. It's not, hey, that's not right. It should have been this. It should know that. Okay, that's the realization of where we are, and we got to change.
As the Badgers head coach Luke Fickell with Sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
It is going to be mostly cloudy with a shower or two possible this afternoon. Our high today in the upper 40s. Tonight, a sprinkle or flurry possible with a low of 32. Tomorrow, partly cloudy. Isolated shower 47 by Saturday. Sunshine 55. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable.
That's your Green Bay News Roundup from 97.9 WGBW. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. And find more news anytime at WGBW.FM.